Hello.
Hello. I have to wait 5 minutes for.
No worries. So I just waiting for Rob as well.
Mhm. Thank you.
So that's okay. Hey guys.
Hello. Okay, so let's get started. Just a moment. Okay, so I share my screen first. Okay, so hello everyone. Just a reminder that this meeting is being recorded and posted to X and YouTube shortly after. Your participation in these meetings is an agreement to abide by the Cloud Native Security Code of Conduct, which can be found in the repo. I need at least one person to volunteer as a scribe to ensure that all actions and primary content discussed are recorded in written notes and can be referred to later. Who is willing?
Sure, I can do that. Actions and what? Right? Sorry. Could you repeat it again?
Yes, just yeah, written the
Memo. Okay. Cool.
primary content, yeah,
Okay.
recorded
Thank
in
you.
written
I'll do
notes
that. Yep.
in this agenda part. Yes, thank you very
Okay.
much.
I think I need to access it. Could you share the link to me? So I forgot that.
Okay,
Yeah. Cool.
just a moment. Yeah, I shared link in chat.
Sure. Thank you. Good.
Thank you very much. And for existing members and working group reps, please remember to include your organization company along with the working group you involved with and update. So write your name, this attendance area, and yeah, down to Gajan. Okay, so we start with the community demo. Oh, and regard, regard, remember into, Gajan, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Yeah. So I've been working on open source projects from some time, and I was working on some of the security projects. So I participated in this community last year, and then I had some break. So I just came back to join Rob and Tiago as well. So good to meet you again.
Yeah, thank you very much. Okay, so the next topic is community demo, and today's community demo was provided by Rob, and regarding VHS and Kubernetes. So, yeah, please go ahead, Rob. I stop my sharing. Maybe you're mute.
There we go. That's a bit better. Uh, and let me start sharing the slides as well. So let me know when those have started appearing for you.
Yes, I
Yeah, we can.
see your screen.
Excellent. Okay. So the demo that I'm going to go through today, it's less of a demo, more of a community talk. So I gave this talk at the Asia CyberCon in Melbourne, trying to help people understand how you can apply the Essential 8 for Kubernetes. The Essential 8 is a baseline governance framework published by the ACSC, came about in 2017, expanding on the top four cybersecurity concerns that were available before that, and adding an additional four into the original. So there are 8 components to the Essential 8. There are a subset of controls found within the ISM being the Information Security Manual, which is an Australian framework designed for enterprises that need to restrict and control their enterprise governance. The Essential 8 is also a requirement for government organisations. So anyone who works with the federal government or is part of the federal government and the local state governments as well has to apply the levels of maturity as associated with the Essential 8. So there are 8 controls or 8 components to the Essential 8: patching applications, patching operating systems, utilizing multi-factor authentication, restricting administrative privileges for most users whenever possible, applying application controls, restricting Microsoft Outlook and Office macros, user application hardening, and performing regular backups. So these 8 controls, as they are, give people a baseline and a maturity to understand whether their systems are secure or not secure according to the framework. There's 3 levels of maturity, starting from maturity level 1, which is very, very basic, and goes up to maturity level 3, which was introduced in 2021. The idea of these controls is, as I said, for everyone to have a baseline basic version of what a security control should be, but it's very frequently misunderstood. So people don't understand how they can achieve the Essential 8 and meet their regulatory compliance, especially when they start to use Kubernetes. So what I wanted to do for the AISA, which is the Australian Institute of Security Association, for their cyber conference, is to start talking about generating that conversation. So I started talking to them about what the problem is and why traditional security, which most security folks would understand, most risk and governance specialists will understand, doesn't work when you start thinking about Kubernetes. So that's starting to think about the ephemeral nature of containers and pods that we're all so familiar with and we understand so well, and starting to move that towards the distributed and the dynamic architectures. So utilizing microservices, containerization. The traditional security often fails to consider the immutability of containers, with a lot of focus being put on patching and perimeter control and access control for permanent long-lived applications. In a containerized or cloud native format, the mutability of containers, the fact that they can be brought up, expanded, replicated multiple times, and then be disappeared by the time you start to run an hourly review, means that the traditional approaches don't tend to work so well. I also talk to them about the areas that you might start to apply cloud native security, not just for Kubernetes and containers, but also any kind of cloud native view of it. So starting with the base image of a container and understanding how to use secure base images to start improving the security architecture. I moved in from that to then code and understanding the Salsa and the way of using open source security tools to start restricting the kind of code that goes into your containers and understanding what is actually being installed or utilized within there. The next column talks about building and testing, and often security in the traditional sense thinks about security testing as occurring after deployment. I challenged the audience to come back and think about testing as part of build and test. So the shift left of security, or as I prefer to talk about, the expanding left of security, taking it from just running your security processes and practices post-deployment in a production environment and bringing that back and making it part of the ongoing build and test cycle. The idea of then having a secure application image that can be assured through in toto and have all of the right kind of attestations associated with it, so that when you're deploying containers into a cloud native environment, you start to understand that what was tested as part of your build pipeline is exactly what is running, and the only things that are running within the Kubernetes environment is what you've tested already. Getting that message across to traditional security folk has certainly been a challenge, but also gives them the view that there are better ways of doing traditional security. Even if they're not going to use containers, there's lessons that they can learn from the container approach that they can start to bring forward. So talking through some of the kind of specific areas that we addressed, a Kubernetes strategy for admission controllers, so OPA or Governo, to enforce whitelisting, to make sure that the process flow of deploying an application into a production workload has a particular flow when you start using Kubernetes that gives you a control plane layer that you don't have in a traditional security world. Being able to apply things at the control plane for Kubernetes, ensuring that the admission controllers are what enforces the rules that you've set in place, enables you to start ticking off some of those compliance activities much easier. So the idea of integrating container images scanning into CI/CD, so moving the secure components earlier on and implementing runtime security policies to prevent the unexpected behavior, all leads into user hardening. Talking about user hardening and also application hardening, we start looking at the admission controllers and the point at which you can start doing things. So I have given a great explanation as part of the longer talk as to what a mutating admission controller is versus what a validating admission controller is. Talking about those webhooks and how you can start integrating this into the flow prior to it being persisted to etcd as a Kubernetes implement. The Essential 8 link that I talk about with both base images, code, build, application images, and deploy, that flow that I talked about at the start applies to patching applications and patching operating systems. So the Essential 8 says that there's 3 different levels of maturity of it, but you must be patching applications and operating systems within specific periods of time. If instead of patching the application, you're always deploying a patched version of the application or a known risk certified version of an application, it makes it much easier to meet the maturity level 3 for that. And the operating system, when we're talking in a Kubernetes environment, is more than just the underlying node operating system. That also applies to the container operating system that's within the container, and understanding that the patching cycle for it is very different. You don't get the same level of, I've patched my node once, therefore I wait until the next patch cycle occurs. Actually, what you need to do is patch it as part of an infrastructure build and know that your nodes then get built out and scaled out based on that defined image. We also talked about integrating image scanning tools. So looking at things like Trivy or Claire into CI/CD pipelines, using image scanning tools to determine whether the image that flows through and then can be deployed into the production Kubernetes cluster has achieved the regulatory requirements that it needs to, allows you to start ticking off more of the boxes within the governance framework. Node vulnerability assessment tools, and especially starting to utilize things like Falco, helps to introduce the concept of rebuilding and redeploying containers or nodes rather than in-place patching. Taking patching and making it more less common, but also occurring earlier and in a more automated way, ticks off the compliance regulations that are required for both of those application and operating system patching requires. Another of the controls within the Essential 8 is about restricting administrative privileges. And this is where we can start diving into the Kubernetes role-based access control practices, understanding that pods may have a role, and that role is then bound based on user, group, or service account, and determining what the role is and what permissions the role has through default or standard role-based access control RBAC. It allows you to make sure that administrative privileges are not being given to everyone, to all users, to all applications, and starts to, again, achieve that third level of maturity against the Essential Eights. A lot of these things will tick off the lower levels of maturity as well, but it's amazing how quickly you can get to maturity level 3 by just using the standard Kubernetes processes and procedures. So things like not using the cluster administrator, things like removing the exec capability or permission from a role and making sure that that is rolled out across all of your users and groups and even the service accounts. Although the Essential 8 does not talk so much about service accounts and what services can do, it's more focused on the users and the achieving the principle of least privilege for users. Another link that we have here for the Essential 8 is about multi-factor authentication. And so there's multiple ways within Kubernetes that you can start to implement multi-factor authentication. Implementing MFA for kubeconfig access and securing the API server authentication processes. You can work your way through having an OAuth, something like Keycloak, to start authenticating in a multi-factor way how users can access Kubernetes clusters. And access isn't just through command line with kubectl, but also users accessing services that are running within the cluster and then being able to access other things from within there as well. Building in the additional layers of authentication within services running on a cluster to enable multi-factor authentication for those as well can all be done through the API server and server authentication. I also called out to these kind of traditional security practitioners the idea of having dashboards and management interfaces, and how it's not necessary for users of a platform like Kubernetes to have access to a dashboard or a management interface to still be able to use get the advantages of running in Kubernetes and having containers. We talk about some of the backup requirements. So the Essential 8 control for daily backups and backup of critical services. Within Kubernetes, there are 3 areas that really need to be backed up. We talk about backing up etcd, backing up the resource definitions, which is effectively the resources that you're deploying, and protecting the storage or persistent volumes. Protecting etcd and persistent volumes and protecting the resource definitions, they all have a different approach. etcd can be backed up but needs to be encrypted as part of that backup so that it's kept securely. And the importance of not just having a process in place to back up etcd when required, but also being able to test the recovery of it is still accurate, is also just as important. Backing up Kubernetes resource definitions, the recommendation is to use something like Git and to introduce GitOps practices with Kubernetes. This allows the resource definitions to be stored in an auditable way that can then be applied to a Kubernetes cluster. We talked about network segmentation and control, and this applies to application hardening. So the Kubernetes strategy that achieves that application hardening control within the Essential 8 is about having network policies in place to segment different namespaces, to limit lateral movement between those namespaces and pods, compared to traditional firewalling, which looks at the outside perimeter of a service or a platform. Kubernetes looks at the internal surfaces and looking at how you protect internal components of it. Overall, the Essential 8 is a security philosophy, or can be treated as a security philosophy. You can translate the controls that exist within the Essential 8 framework into cloud-native strategies using very standard, very common cloud-native practices. And there's a number of tools that exist that do that. But culture matters. Culture is about expanding your security left and making sure that, especially as you're using more and more containers, that the build pipeline for those containers is effectively managed. Securing the upstream open source security tooling, so all of the libraries that you're relying on and all of the tools that get built into your containers, understanding the supply chain for that and securing that supply chain is equally as important. The goal here is to build secure, resilient, and manageable environments. And the best way of doing that is to make sure that security is applied across the board, utilizing the best practices from the Cloud Native Compute Foundation, but also applying the Essential 8 Governance Foundation across all of it and looking at how those things apply. Do we have any questions?
Thank you, Rob. I have some questions. And you mentioned that, for example, in Toto or Kickrock, and are there any implementation example or some sample set of CNSF project regarding the original Essential 8 and also the Essential 8 on Kubernetes?
Sorry, Yoshi. Say the question again there.
So are there any implementation example or sample set of CNSF ecosystem? Like, for example, the platform authentication should be done with Keycloak, or you can use in total for blah, 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 or something like that.
So at this stage, there's no default way for government enterprises and organizations that need to use this or need to get Essential 8 compliance, determining what they must or mustn't use. In the work that I've done with various organizations assessing their Kubernetes platforms, we often talk about how many options there are in the cloud native landscape, how many different tools there are to achieve some of these different things. So when I called out in Toto, it was because that's one way of approaching it, one tool that's on the framework that allows you to do it. But there's no defined way. These are the only tools that you can use. And in fact, there's very little visibility within that Essential 8 ecosystem community, understanding what cloud native tools are available. And because there are so many different ways of achieving the same goal, for them, even just understanding that there is something that can do that, whether it's using Witness or in Toto, or it's more about understanding that they should be thinking about building those processes in and building attestation in and building in image signing and cosign, and using cosign to validate that the images that they're using within their clusters have met all of these requirements. It's a level too far for most of them at the moment.
Okay, thank you very much. And one question is maybe this essential eight is promoted by IASA, right? And is there any law regarding this essential eight? For example, enforce to promote this, promote or enforce to how to say?
Yeah,
Promote
so
this.
the essential eight, there's the essential eight applies to organizations and branches of the government, both at the federal and state level within Australia, that they must meet certain levels on the maturity matrix. In New South Wales, which is one of the states of Australia, they're looking to introduce a minimum maturity model, maturity level 2, for any businesses that then work with or provide services to government. So that would be at the local government level, with a view that anyone providing services must have at least assessed against the Essential 8, and they're looking to bring that in early next year. So while most of these things are pretty standard for us in the Kubernetes community, enterprises that are kind of using it but don't really understand what they're doing with it, leaving clusters misconfigured, there'll be a requirement that they start to apply Essential 8, and most people don't know how to apply Essential 8 to Kubernetes at this stage. So there is a legal requirement to have assessed through the self-assessment guide of Essential 8. They don't have to go to the full level of the ISM. So most large enterprises in Australia would have some level of ISM. So the International Security Model, I think it is. I can't remember what it stands for exactly, but it's a much bigger. There's over 1,000 different controls and levels within the ISM, whereas the Essential 8 is 8 controls across 3 different maturity levels. So it reduces the scope of what you need to assess when you apply the Essential 8, although the larger you are, the more likely you are to be using the ISM.
Thank you very much. So do you guys have any other questions?
Are they valid for the regulated industry as well, not just government, beyond government, in private
Yes,
sector?
the Australian Security Council recommend that everyone looks at the Essential 8, but there's no legal requirement to have self-assessed with them. So regulatory or not, it's focused very much on government departments that must achieve it. But the recommendation is that everyone should be looking at the Essential 8, and it's deliberately small and lightweight enough that you can self-assess against the Essential 8 maturity model as a very small business or a very large enterprise. As I said, most large enterprises will have regulatory requirements that match the ISM and NIST framework rather than the Essential 8. The Essential 8 focuses more on the internal government departments and then also small businesses that are just getting started on it. So it's a good way of starting to think about how you can achieve compliance rather than getting all the way to the most extreme level of compliance.
Sure, thank
you. So any other questions? Nothing? Okay, so thank you, Rob, for providing community demo. Yeah, very good.
Thanks, everyone.
Okay, so I share my screen again. Okay, so the next topic is reviewed other time zone meetings, and there are one meeting before this meeting. And their community demo from Eddie regarding the OpenSSF, I think. And also, yeah, review the regarding IAM white paper. And the last week, we are gathered in KubeCon North America, and yeah, I discussed many times with TOC or tag security release, and yeah, IAM white paper was under TOC review was they reject because of the number of the white paper number of the pages, but the matter is not the number of pages, but also the review process or the lack of the expertise. So yeah, first we plan to establish the review process. So yeah, that's just current status of that. And yeah, there are no TLC meeting, and there are several project updates and security assessment regarding the key value that that is written here also. And during the joint assessment was happen right now. And there are some supply chain integrity working group initiative and cloud native security control pattern integration initiative and MCP authentication and authorization initiative. Yeah, like that. And also, yeah, some memo regarding this. The SLAM 26 is planning, so if you want to get involved in planning, please contact Eddie, Marina, and Ivan. Okay, that's for the review the other time zone meeting. And the next topic, the POC meeting is not held, and so we skip this one and so move to the project update. Project updates are the same for the American Region Time Zone meeting. And regarding IAM white paper initiative, yeah, I previously said that we are currently established the review process of the white paper. Yeah, that is the current status. And I participate the MCP authentication and authorization initiative, and regarding that, the draft version of the scope and some targeted targeted audience are published. So we are currently review the initial version of draft. So do you guys have any other update for this project? Nothing? Okay. So let's move to the triage current issues. These are the current recently updated issues, and regarding open one, there are several open issues. And regarding CSX supply chain security insights, yeah, recently some status change was happened. Yeah, so maybe there are no progress about that. And regarding MCP server authentication and authorization standards white paper, yeah, some folks want to join this initiative. And that's all. And regarding the Hiberno joint security assessment, automatically records that this unintentionally and reopen this. And there are some contributor. And just start from yesterday, this joint assessment with the question and threat model. And this joint assessment was discussed in the previous cyber security meeting. Previous meeting means this November 19th American region meeting. So if you're interested about that, please watch the recording of the previous American region's cyber security meeting. And regarding cloud native security control cutout refresh, I understand this initiative was started like this. And so if you're interested in this initiative, please join this initiative. Okay, so yeah, that's all for this topic. Thank you for Scribe version. And the next topic is general stand-up and check-ins from partner groups. There any update from you guys? Maybe no. So yeah, I skip this. And so the schedule the next meeting committee demo. And regarding the next meeting, Tiago provide some committee demo here. So what is the next after the next meeting?
It should be around the Christmas. Not sure if you.
Oh, yeah, I think so. And maybe 18th, I think.
Should be 18th. Yeah, 8th of December.
Do you guys will be holiday?
Not yet.
Not yet. Okay. So yeah, anyone wants to provide community demo on December 18th? No one?
Gajin, is there anything you've been working on that you might talk about?
18th of December.
Yeah.
Can I come back on that later? Is it just I have some ideas, but yeah, not sure right away. We all ping you in the Slack or something. Is that okay?
Yeah.
And don't need to come with the topic right now, but if you could lock the place for even the community demo or anything, it
Yeah,
would be nice.
definitely. Yes, definitely.
Thank you, Kaja.
Okay. So I first the scheduling.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. If you decide what topic you'd like to speak, yeah, please
Sure, I'll talk about it. Yeah.
share me. Yeah.
Yep. In fact, yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, that's all for today. And do you guys have any topics for discuss?
I do want to briefly mention I've been doing a security assessment at the moment that part of the infrastructure includes Kubeflow. And I think we were talking about whether there was a CNCF security model for it, but it doesn't appear to have one. So at some point I may pick up, there was one that started but has not made it too far. So we may pick that up and have a look at it after the fact. They look like they have a partial self-assessment at the moment. And they had a recent security audit, but I may try and find some of that to deal with the current project I'm working on.
Great. Is there any other topic?
Yeah, just a quick question. I see OpenSSF community topic being mentioned. Is it same? I mean, is it part of this? I mean, as a topic of discussion, or is it how? What's the collaboration here with OpenSSF in this
I
case?
see.
Yeah.
Here, just a
Because
moment.
I did work on that Minder. That's one of the tools that is being mentioned in the Asia Pacific, on the America, the community group. So I thought, I was
In the
wondering. Mhm.
Tag security and compliance chapter,
Yeah,
we will collaborate with the external parties, the group like the OpenSSF, and
I see.
yeah, but that's just collaborating. So,
Okay.
but some tag security with me, the co-chair and tech lead also belongs to the OpenSSF. So maybe the relationship between this tag security and OpenSSF is like that. That's all I think. So,
Okay, understand. Thank you.
yeah. So some members belongs to the OpenSSF. So publication from CNSF, yeah, no, tag security is mm, including some idea from OpenSSF.
Okay. Yeah, that's good to know. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so yeah, that's all for today. So thank you for attending this session, attending this meeting. And yeah, that's all. So have a nice day. Bye bye.
Bye. Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Thank
Bye.
you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.